this 20-minute yoga for athletes class. This class is perfect for anyone who runs, walks, hikes, cycles, lifts, does burpees, loves HIIT. Basically, anything you do, this class is perfect for you. The only equipment you need for this class is a mat. You don't even need shoes. As a matter of fact, if you have shoes on, go ahead and take them off. You don't want them for yoga. We will be doing a few stretches with a yoga strap today. If you don't have a strap, that's fine. You could use a belt, a necktie, or even a towel, like a longer bath towel. I have my yoga towel here as an example. Go ahead and get your strap or something else that you can use to stretch with, and meet me on your mat, on your back. I have two assistants joining me today. Charlie and Fiona are both out here. I'm actually going to turn this way because I think this will give you a better view. And just go ahead as you come onto your back, bend your knees, relax your shoulders, and you can either have your hands lying down by your side, palms facing up, or bring your left hand to your heart and your right hand to rest on your stomach. And we're going to take 3 cleansing breaths together. So take a nice deep inhale through your nose, bring that breath all the way down to the bottom lobes of your lungs, and make a ha sound as you exhale with an open mouth. Again, deeper, fuller inhale, bringing in just a tiny bit more breath than you did that first round. And that open mouth, let it go. Feel the back of your shoulders, the back of your neck relax. And one more, deepest inhale yet, bringing in that breath until you feel like you can't possibly take in another sip. And then maybe, just maybe, taking in the tiniest sip more. And with control, open mouth, let it go. Now we're going to continue to take those same ha exhales, but we're going to seal our lips. So we'll inhale through our nose with sealed lips, and exhale through our nose with sealed lips. And just continue to breathe this way. On an inhale, blink your eyes open and extend your arms long overhead with the backs of your hands flat on the mat. On an exhale breath, begin to bend your elbows and drag them down into your side ribs, doing your best to keep the backs of your hands and the backs of your wrists and elbows on the mat. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, lengthen those arms overhead, palms flat on the mat. My elbows aren't touching, and that's fine if yours aren't. And then on an exhale breath, slowly drag those elbows down into your side. So just a little bit of shoulder mobility here. And again, one more. Inhale. Lengthen. And then exhale. Elbows bend. Maybe we draw them down just a tiny bit closer towards the hips this time, but still in towards the elbows. Towards the ribs. And then inhale, lengthen, and then this time on your exhale, draw your knees into your chest, bring your palms to your elbows, and then just rock and roll 3 or 4 times the length of your spine, and come up into a neutral tabletop position. And then from that neutral tabletop position, walk your hands out about a palm's print from where they were. Spiral your pinkies out towards the edges of the mat so that the eye of your elbow or the crease of your elbow faces forward. Take an inhale breath, and as you exhale, we're going to draw hip circles. We're going to just start to drop our right hip towards our right heel, and then come around left hip towards left heel. And then take an inhale breath as you come forward, bringing that left hip towards the left hand, and then right hip towards the right hand. We're going to move 2 more times. Exhale, right hip in this direction towards the heel. And if there's a spot where you feel a little stuck, you can just hang out there. And then inhaling as you come forward, lifting your chest, creating a little space between your collarbones. And then last time in this direction. So good for our low back and our hip flexors. And then this time as we come forward, we're going to pause, and then we're going to move in the opposite direction. So exhale, Left hip to left heel, and then over towards the right. Inhale, coming forward. Take 2 more circles in this direction, and I want you to move with your own pace. So if you take only 1 super slow circle, that's awesome. If you take 3 circles, that's awesome too. Whatever feels right to you is what's right for this moment. And then we'll pause. And now we're going to bring our big toes to touch, walk our knees wide, and come back into a child's pose. So sitting those hips onto the heels, reaching the fingertips forward, and then think about keeping the connection between your bum and your heels, but lengthening your spine so that the crown of your head is reaching towards the top of your mat. Relax your shoulders, relax the back of your neck, and you can hang out here, or if you have tight shoulders and triceps and you'd like to take a tricep stretch, flip your hands so that the pinky edge, the pinky finger is resting on the mat and the thumb is facing up. And then go ahead and bring your palms to touch like you're high-fiving yourself, and then bend your elbows and bring your thumbs to the back of your neck. You can even lift your head a little bit and then inch those elbows forward, but make sure that you keep that connection between your hip and your heels. You should feel a really nice stretch in your triceps, so those muscles in the backs of the upper arms. And continuing with that sealed lip breath, it's called Ujjayi breath. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose, creating that ha sound with your exhale. On your next exhale, go ahead and release the hands. And on your inhale, we're going to come back up to that neutral tabletop pose. Walk those palms back out a palm's distance. Corkscrew them into the mat like you're opening jars. Tuck your toes, lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Come into that upside down V. Keeping your knees as bent as you need here. Maybe you take some pedals, which means you bend one knee deeply as the other heel comes down to the mat, and then you switch it out. So opening up the backs of the legs here, the calves, the hamstrings, and doing your best to continue that Ujjayi breath. Slow inhales through the nose and powerful controlled exhales through the nose, creating that ha sound as you exhale. Now we're going to begin to find some stillness in this downward facing dog. Take a nice deep bend in your knees. Notice the length that created from your fingertips to your shoulders and all the way down to your hips. Begin to lift the backs of your hips up towards the spot where the wall and the ceiling meet behind you. And I don't want you ever to feel like you need to straighten your legs. You want equal weight between your hands and your feet, and maybe you gaze back between your toes or up towards your belly button. And on an exhale breath, we're going to slowly walk our fingertips, our hands, back towards our toes. Your knees should be nice and bent. And you're kind of come into a forward fold. You can take a ragdoll here, bringing opposite pinky to the crook of the opposite elbow. If that feels good to you, and just let yourself sway from side to side. On an exhale breath, release your fingertips down towards the mat, tuck your tailbone under, and slowly roll up to stand, one vertebra at a time. On an inhale breath, bring the fingertips up overhead, and as you exhale, take your right wrist with your left hand and stretch up and over to the left. So bumping that right hip over to the right, but keeping the fronts of the hips facing forward. Come back up, and we're going to come into a little bit of a balanced quad stretch. So take your ankle with your right hand, bring your right knee to your left, and tuck your tailbone under, stretching out the front of that right hip, quad hip flexor. And then release, and now we're going to stretch to the other side. Take your left wrist with your right hand, bump the left hip over towards the left, and then stretch up and over that imaginary barrel towards the right. Come back up through center, find your balance on that right foot, bend the left knee, Bring the left heel into the glute, and then bring that left knee to meet the right. Slight tuck in the tailbone. We'll have a nice opening in the front of that left hip. Nice. And then go ahead and bring those fingertips back up. And on an exhale, we're going to hinge at the hips and fold forward. And we're going to walk our fingertips back out, coming into a plank pose. And from our knees or from our toes, and no ego. If your shoulders are sore and tight, you're going to come down to your knees. We're going to lower all the way down to our belly for a slow count of 4 or 5. And then untuck your toes, walk your fingertips out in line with your shoulders, and then inhale, come up to a wide cobra. So you should feel a nice stretch in the front of your core here, in your front abs. And then spread your collarbones wide as you loop those shoulders down and back into their sockets. Exhale, we're going to drop the right shoulder, gaze towards the left. Inhale, come back up. And exhale, drop the left shoulder. And come back over, gaze towards the right. Inhale back through center. Exhale to lower. Bring your palms underneath your shoulders. And go ahead and press yourself up to a cross-legged seat. And this is where we're going to use the strap for the first time. So you're going to lengthen the strap. And then you want your palms facing forward. Take an inhale breath. And then as you exhale, we're just going to do a little side bending over towards the left. Come back through center. And then a little side bend over towards the right. Come up through center. Fiona, stop being a dog. And then stretch over towards the left. Maybe pull a little bit more with that left hand. Come back up through center. And then this time maybe pull a little bit more with that right hand. And then come back to center and go ahead and put the strap down. We'll use it again in just a moment. Come back up to kneeling. And we're going to step the right foot into a half kneeling pose. So stacking the head over the shoulders, over the hips, slight tuck under in the tailbone. Imagine that you're pulling this femur bone back into its socket on the right side. Bring those arms up overhead, and on an exhale breath, we're going to pull them down into our side to make a W, just like we did on the mat at the beginning of class. And then we're going to bend at the elbows and bring the palms behind us. My right hand is on top of my left. So loop those shoulders down and back into their sockets. And then come back out, come back up, and then reach those fingertips overhead. On an exhale breath, bring those palms down to the mat. Step the right knee back, step the left foot forward. Same thing. Pulling into that heel, imagining that you're pulling that left femur, thigh bone back into the socket. Tuck the tailbone under. Notice the stretch that you feel in the front of the right hip flexor. And then bring the hands up overhead. On your next exhale, you're going to bend the elbows down into the side body. Flip the palms to face the back of the room. And this time, cross your hands behind you. So they're not actually touching. There's a little space between my hands with my left hand on top of my right. Just warming up the shoulders a little bit for the next strap stretch that we're going to do. And then bring the elbows back out to the side. Bring them into that goal post. Back up overhead. And then windmill the hands down. So I'm going to come into a kneeling position. So this is called hero pose in yoga. And it can be a lot if you have really tight quads. So if you prefer to come back into that cross-legged seat, you can come back into that cross-legged seat. And now we're going to grab the strap. And we're going to take a pretty wide grip on it. And you're going to bring the strap down to your knees. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, bring the strap up overhead. And you're going to lengthen the space between your hands as much as you need to safely bring that strap back behind you. So I had to lengthen quite a bit. My shoulders are a little bit tight today. Inhale, and then exhale, we're gonna pull it back up, and you can even have a little bend in your elbows, depends on your body, where you need to be. And bring this strap down. Let's do that again. Inhale. Exhale. Strap comes up overhead and then back behind you. So the palms flip as the strap comes back behind you. And you're also getting a really nice quadricep stretch here. One more. Come back up, overhead. And then bring it up and back behind you. So any of these stretches you can do separately outside of this yoga flow. And then bring it back up and over. And now we're going to come onto our backs. So carefully just come onto your bum with your feet on the mat and then slowly lower down onto your back. Extend your left leg long. Keep it active, flex the toes back towards the knee. Bend the right knee and bring the strap, the middle of the strap, to the ball of your foot. Now notice right here, my head, neck, and shoulders are up off the mat. This isn't doing us any good. You want to bring your head, neck, and shoulders relaxed onto the mat. And then if you need to lengthen your fingertips away from your foot, lengthen your fingertips away from your foot on the strap. So ideally, the backs of your elbows are resting on the mat here. Flex the right toes back towards the face. Slow and steady breaths. Just imagine that you're bringing that breath into that right hamstring. And this knee can be bent as much as you need. If you feel any pressure in the back of the knee, that's a no-no. You need to bend the knee and you'll still feel the stretch in the back of the hamstring. And you can keep your left hand on your left hip just to remind it to stay put. So if that left hip is lifting up off the mat and this leg is moving off to the right, you need to bend the knee a little bit more. Be gentle with yourself. And maybe as you breathe, 3 or 4 rounds more of breath, you can pull that foot back just a tiny bit. But don't yank it. And now take the strap into your left hand, and you're going to extend your right arm out to the side as you gently allow this right foot to make its way over towards the left. So you want to think about your belly button moving up towards the ceiling, so there is some core engagement here. My left toes are still facing up towards the ceiling. So my right foot is not resting on the mat. And if you need to bend the knee a little bit, bend it. This is a really good stretch again for the hip, release for the hip flexor, stretch for the IT band. And then with an exhale breath, go ahead and come back onto your back, bend your knees. Extend the right leg, flex the toes back towards the face, and then loop the strap around the ball of the left foot. Flex the left toes back towards the knee. I'm a lot tighter on this side, so I'm going to need to bend this knee a little bit more. And then relax. So if you're all tensed up and choking up on the strap, all that does is your brain is sending a signal to your muscles, oh my gosh, I'm stressed, this is difficult, get me out of here, help, and then it's counteractive, right? We're not allowing ourselves to relax and stretch. And then maybe with each slow, steady breath, you create a little bit more space in the back of that left hamstring. So is the back of your neck tense? Can you lift your shoulders a little bit and loop them down into their sockets? Go ahead and take that strap into the right hand. And if you don't have a dog right next to you, go ahead and extend that left arm out to the left. Keep the right toes facing up towards the ceiling as you gently, slowly bring that left foot over towards the left. So keep flexing those left toes back towards the face, back towards the knee, and belly button up towards the ceiling to keep a little bit of core engagement here to keep that low back safe. So you might feel this deep in the hip, in that piriformis, glute medius area there. That's okay as long as it's not painful. And breathe slow, steady breaths. And then on an exhale, come back to center. Go ahead and put that strap off to the side. We're done with it. Draw your knees into your chest and just kind of rock side to side for a little massage. Allow your knees to fall over towards the left. Your right arm's going to extend out to the right with the palm facing up. And you're going to give yourself a high five you're going to give yourself a high five, right hand over to the left. Flip that right palm so that it's facing the ceiling, and then trace a circle overhead and then back out to the right. And we're going to do that 2 more times. Roll more onto your left side. High five your left hand with your right. Rotate that right palm to face up towards the ceiling, and then trace that circle back over towards the right side. And 1 more time. Right palm high fives the left. Rotate the palm up towards the ceiling, and then you can trace that rainbow all the way back over towards the right. And then this time we're going to take 2 breaths, just shifting our gaze out towards the right and just reaping the benefit of being still in the twist. So it's a release for the low back. And then on an exhale breath, hug the knees into the chest, rock side to side. And then knees fall to the left, both arms out like a T. Take an inhale breath, and as you exhale, high five your right hand with your left. Rotate the palm to face up towards the ceiling, and then trace that rainbow up overhead, and the arm comes back out to shoulder height. Left palm to right, flip the palm up towards the ceiling, and then trace that rainbow. Let's do that 1 more time. Really nice opener for the shoulder here, some shoulder mobility. And now we're going to hang out for a couple breaths, slow, steady breaths as you gaze towards the left. And we're not wrenching our back here, it's just a very gentle, gentle twist. And then on an exhale breath, use your core, bring those knees in. And we're going to just rock and roll up to a seat. And if you'd like, you can just bring your thumbs to heart center. And you don't have to do this if it feels uncomfortable for you. And then if you'd like to take it a little step further, you can just bow your forehead towards your fingertips, just acknowledging yourself, thanking yourself for taking this time to give back to your body. This time to stretch and mobilize and stabilize that will extend your abilities in any upcoming workouts. Friends, thank you so much for practicing. Maybe you tried something new today. Thank you so much for trusting me to lead you through something new. I will see you back here very soon, and until then, take good care. Bye.